Hello my lovelies, it is time for another book haul, so stay tuned. So today I have 24 books to show you and I'm so excited. Oh, some of these I cannot wait to read, and actually a couple of them I've already read. Okay, I am going to bring you just a little bit closer. I'm actually going to set you up on this table so I can show you the book covers a little bit better. And we're going to get started. Okay, so the first books that I want to go over are books that came in like a subscription box kind of thing. So the first one I have here was one of my Once Upon a Book Club boxes. Those books don't typically get hauled in a regular book haul just because I keep the book in its box. So when I take the book out of its box, I can haul it. And so I've taken this book out and I've read it. And that is Never Name the Dead by D.M. Rowell. And this is an Owen's Voices Native American story. It says, old grudges, tribal traditions, and outside influences collide for a Kiowa woman as forces threaten her family, her tribe, and the land of her ancestors in this Owen Voices debut, perfect for fans of Winter Counts. No one called her Mud in Silicon Valley. There she was May, a high-powered professional who had left her Kiowa roots behind a decade ago. But a cryptic voice message from her grandfather, James Sawpole, telling her to come home sounds so wrong that she catches the next plane to Oklahoma. She never expected to be plunged into a web of theft, betrayal, and murder. Mud discovers the tribe in disarray. Fracking is damaging their ancestral lands. Kiowa families are being forced to sell off their artifacts, and frackers have threatened to kill her grandfather over his water rights. When Mud and her cousin Denny discover her grandfather missing, accused of stealing the valuable Jefferson Peace Medal from the Tribe Museum, and stumble across a body in his workroom, Mud has no choice but to search for answers. Mud sets out into the wildlife refuge, determined to clear her grandfather's name and identify the killer. But Mud has no idea that she's about to embark on a vision quest that will involve deceit, greed, and a charging buffalo, or that a murderer is on her trail. Okay, so the next four books, are books that came in my Once Upon a Book Club Advent box. And they're all books that I already own. So the first one is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. And this says, Iris Hollow and her two older sisters are unquestionably strange. As children, they disappeared on a Scottish city street only to return a month later with no memory of what happened to them or where they'd been. More troubling, their appearance began to change. Their blue eyes now black, their dark hair now white. And as they grow older, odd, eerie occurrences seem to follow in their wake. People find them disturbingly intoxicating, unbearably beautiful, and inexplicably dangerous. Now, 17-year-old Iris is doing all she can to fit in and graduate high school on time, something her two famous, glamorous, globe-trotting older sisters, Gray and Vivi, never managed to do. But when Gray goes missing, leaving behind bizarre clues as to her whereabouts, Iris and Vivi are left to find her, but they aren't the only ones looking. As they brush against the supernatural, Iris quickly realizes that the story she's been told about their past is unraveling, and the world that returned them seemingly unharmed 10 years ago might just be calling them back again. Darkly seductive, this twisty modern-day fairy tale by critically acclaimed author Crystal Sutherland is a gripping and terrifying journey. Readers will not be able to look away. And this was actually one of our group books for one of the season-a-thons in the past, and we had Crystal Sutherland on my channel to discuss it. I'll link that up here if you want to go back and check it out. Next up is The House by Christina Lauren, and this says, he's always dressed in black, his head down and shaggy black hair falls into his eyes. But when Gavin looks up at Delilah, his dark eyes shadowed with bluish circles seem to flicker to life. Her lifelong fascination with him has been a mixture of longing and bear-like protectiveness, because he lives in that house, the one at the edge of town, spooky and maybe haunted. Delilah thinks it might be something worse than haunted. Gavin tells Delilah he's hers, completely, but whatever lives with him inside that house disagrees. And Christina Lauren they were also on my channel, so if you want to go and see that, we talked about the book Autobiography, and yeah, I'll link that up here. But I do already own this book. Next up is another one that I own, and that is You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen M. McManus. And this says, Ivy, Mateo, and Cal used to be close. Now all they have in common is Carlton High and the beginning of a very bad day. Type A Ivy lost the student council election to the class clown, and now she has to face the school humiliated. Heartthrob Mateo is burned out. He's been working 2 jobs since his family's business failed, and outsider Cal just got stood up again. So when Cal pulls into campus late for class and runs into Ivy and Mateo, it seems like the perfect opportunity to turn a bad day around. They'll ditch and go into the city, just the 3 of them, like old times. Except they've barely left the parking lot before they run out of things to say. Until they spot another Carlton High student skipping school and follow him to the scene of his own murder. In one chance move, their day turns from dull to deadly, and it's about to get worse. It turns out Ivy, Mateo, and Cal still have some things in common. They all have a connection to the dead kid, and they're all hiding something. Now they're wondering, could it be that their chance reconnection wasn't by chance after all? And then the last one that I got in that box is All This Time by Mickey Daughtry and Rachel Lippincott. And this says, Can you find true love after losing everything? From the team that brought you #1 New York Times bestseller, 5 Feet Apart, comes a gripping new romance. Kyle and Kimberly are the perfect couple. At least that's what Kyle always thought. But when Kimberly drops a bomb on their relationship on the night of their graduation party, Kyle's entire world upends, literally. Their car crashes, and when he wakes up, Kyle has a brain injury, Kimberly is dead, and no one in his life could possibly understand. Until Marley. Marley is suffering from her own loss, a loss she thinks was her fault. And when Marley's and Kyle's paths cross, Kyle sees in Marley all the unspoken things he's feeling. As Kyle and Marley slowly work to heal each other's wounds, their feelings for each other grow stronger. But Kyle can't shake the sense that he's headed for another crashing moment that will blow up his life as soon as he started to put it back together. And he's right. Interesting. I do own this book though. I haven't read it yet. Okay, next are 2 books that my friend Ariel Castleman sent to me. She sent me a picture of a few different arcs and asked if there were any of them that I was interested in, and I picked 2 of them. So the first one is Shadow School Archimancy by J.A. White. Let me just double check and make sure that this is the first book. Yes, this is the first book. And it looks like this came out July 30th, 2019. Okay, this says, Something's not right at Shadow School. Cordelia Liu knew her new school was going to be different. Black gates and ivied walls. Long hallways lined with old paintings. A tower with a window that looks like an eye. Different, she expected. Yet Cordelia can't shake the feeling she's being watched no matter where she runs. Then she sees them, ghosts, everywhere. Cordelia teams up with her new friends, Benji and Agnes, to find out exactly why the spirits are at Shadow School and how to set them free. But the place was created with more sinister intentions, and someone is willing to go to extreme lengths to ensure that the ghosts remain trapped forever. And I thought this sounded really good. Okay, next up is Rose Coffin, and this is by M.P. Kalowski. Let's see, this came out October 15th, 2019. This says, She's the chosen one, the one who's been chosen to die. Rose Coffin can't win. She's teased for her secondhand clothes, she's teased for blushing all the time, and she's teased for slipping into song at inopportune moments, even though that's the only thing that keeps her panic at bay. After a particularly mortifying incident, Rose escapes to the woods where she's captured by a group of otherworldly creatures. They take her to Epperset, a magical, eerily beautiful place where cemeteries are full of dead dreams, moving castles roll along on tracks, and most shocking of all, people seem to love Rose at first sight. They tell her that she's the one they've been waiting for, the one who's going to save them. An evil force called the Abomination is on the loose, and there's only one thing powerful enough to stop it: her voice. There's just one catch. Rose hasn't been brought to Eberset to fight the Abomination. She's going to be sacrificed to it. In this startlingly original fantasy, M.P. Kalowski, author of Frost, Juniper Berry, and the Dryer Tales, takes readers on a journey like no other, an adventure that will transform everything you thought you knew about friendship, love, and the true power of finding your voice. Okay, so this next book is actually one that Marty got me as a gift, and he was not too thrilled by the fact that out of all the books that he could choose from my wish list, he chose one that I have already read. But I told him I put it on my wish list because I want a copy of it, because I'd read it again. Because I read it, I loved it, I gave it 5 stars, and I want to continue the series eventually when the next book comes out. But that is the Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. This gave me like Aladdin, 40 Thieves, Arabian Nights, all of those vibes, and I absolutely loved it. This says, neither here nor there, but long ago. Luli al-Nazari is the midnight merchant, a criminal who, with the help of her Jinn bodyguard, hunts and sells illegal magic. When she saves the life of a cowardly prince, she draws the attention of his powerful father, the Sultan, who blackmails her into finding an ancient lamp that has the power to revive the barren land, at the cost of sacrificing all Jinn. With no choice but to obey or be executed, Luli journeys with the Sultan's oldest son and one of his infamous 40 thieves to find the artifact. Aided by her bodyguard, who has secrets of his own, they must survive ghoul attacks, outwit a vengeful Jinn queen, and confront a malicious killer from Luli's past. In a world where story is reality and illusion is truth, Luli will discover that everything, her enemy, her magic, even her own past, is not what it seems. Now she must decide who she will become. Incredible storytelling, unforgettable characters, and breathtaking adventure collide in this epic debut that will leave you spellbound from fantasy's brightest new star, Chelsea Abdullah. Okay, so this next book was kind of sort of gifted, but I paid for it. And that was a book that my book buddy of the month selected for me from my wish list. They picked it out and then I just paid for it without knowing what I was getting. And then I had to read it. And that is the Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the 3rd and final book in the what's it called? The Inheritance Games series. And the Inheritance Game is about a girl named Avery who inherits a billionaire's fortune, but she has no clue who this billionaire is or why they selected her when he has all this family that was expecting to inherit all this money. And there's some people that are not very happy about it. And there's a lot of games, there's a lot of riddles, there's a lot of clues that have to be followed. And she's trying to figure out why she was chosen. The grandsons that thought they were getting the inheritance are trying to figure out why she was chosen and not them. And also trying to keep her alive. I loved it. Okay, so the rest of these books, yes, all of these books that are remaining are ones that I have pre-ordered from either Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or Book Depository. I think they were all Barnes & Noble or Book Depository. Anyway, the first one is The Rewind by Alison Wynne Scotch. This says, 2 exes wake up together with wedding bands on their fingers and no idea how they got there. They have just one New Year's Eve at the end of 1999 to figure it out in this big-hearted and nostalgic rom-com from New York Times bestselling author Alison Wynne Scotch. When college sweethearts Frankie and Ezra broke up before graduation, they vowed never to speak to each other again. 10 years later, on the eve of the new millennium, they find themselves back on their snowy New England campus for the wedding of mutual friends. Frankie's on the rise as a music manager for the hottest bands of the late 90s, and Ezra's ready to propose to his girlfriend after the wedding. Everything is going to plan. They just have to avoid the chasm of emotions brought up when they inevitably come face to face. But when they wake up in bed next to each other the following morning with Ezra's grandmother's diamond on Frankie's finger, they have zero memory of how they got there or about any of the events that transpired the night before. Now Frankie and Ezra have to put aside old grievances in order to figure out what happened, what didn't happen, and to ask themselves the most troubling question of all. What if they both got it all wrong the first time around? And I think this is going to be so much fun to read. Okay, this next one I actually already read this month because I just needed to. And that is You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince by Timothy Janofsky. So cute. This says, find a little joy to the world? Not today, Santa. Matthew Prince is young, rich, and thoroughly spoiled. So what if his parents barely remember he exists and the press is totally obsessed with him? He's on top of the world. But one major PR misstep later, and Matthew is cut off and shipped away to spend the holidays in his grandparents' charming small-town hellscape. Population? Who cares? It's bad enough he's stuck in some festive winter wonderland. It's even worse that he has to share space with Hector Martinez, an obnoxiously attractive local who's unimpressed with anything and everything Matthew does. Just when it looks like the holiday season is bringing nothing but heated squabbles, the charity gala loses its coordinator and Matthew steps in as a saintly act to get home early on good behavior, with Hector as his maddening +1. But even a Grinch can't resist the unexpected joy of found family, and in the end, the forced proximity and infectious holiday cheer might be enough to make a lonely prince's heart grow 3 sizes this year. Okay, next up is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, and this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. This says, 8 hours, 6 friends, 5 survive. Red Kinney is on a road map for spring break with 5 friends. Her best friend and her older brother, his perfect girlfriend, a friend from school, and the guy Red wishes was more than a friend. But they won't make it to their destination. When their RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, they soon realize this is no accident. They have been trapped by someone out there in the dark. Someone who clearly wants them dead. With 8 hours until dawn, the 6 friends must escape or figure out which of them is the target. But is there a liar among them? Buried secrets will be forced to light and tensions inside the RV will reach deadly levels. Not all of them will survive the night. From the author of the New York Times and multi-million copy best-selling A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series comes a new, unforgettable thrill ride. I'm very excited. Sorry if y'all hear a bunch of clicking and grunting and scuffling, but Bella and Einstein decided they needed to fight under the table here. Okay, next up is The Ivory Tomb by Melissa Caruso. This is book 3 in the Rooks and Ruins series. And book 1 is called The Obsidian Tower. I've pulled it up on Goodreads. I very much enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars and I wanted to continue. So this says, the mage-marked granddaughter of a ruler of Veskandar, Rix was destined for power and prestige at the top of the Skandran society. But her magic is broken. All she can do is uncontrollably drain the life from everything she touches. And Veskandar has no place for a mage with unusable powers. Then one night, 2 terrible accidents befall her. Rix accidentally kills a visiting dignitary in self-defense, activating a mysterious magical artifact sealed in an ancient tower in the heart of her family's castle. Rix flees, seeking a solution to her deadly magic. She falls in with a group of unlikely magical experts investigating the disturbance in Veskandar, and Rix realizes that her family is in danger and her domain is at stake. She and her new colleagues must return to the family stronghold to take control of the artifact that everyone wants to claim before it destroys the world. Okay, next up is another cute wintry rom-com, and that is Kiss Her Once for Me by Allison Cochran. This says, it's the best time of the year. 1 year ago, recent Portland transplant Ellie Oliver had her dream job in animation and a Christmas Eve bookstore meet cute with a woman she fell in love with over the course of a single night. But after a betrayal the next morning and the loss of her job soon after, she finds herself adrift, alone, and desperate for money. Since finding work at a local coffee shop, she's just getting through the days until Andrew, the shop's landlord, proposes a shocking drunken plan, a marriage of convenience that will give him his recent inheritance and alleviate Ellie's financial woes and isolation. They decide to spend the holidays together at his family's cabin to keep up the ruse. But when Andrew introduces his new fiancée to his sister, Ellie is shocked to discover that his sister is Jack, the mysterious woman she fell for last Christmas Eve. Now, over one very festive week, Ellie must choose between the safety of a fake relationship and the risk of something real. Well, I just went to get a drink because all this talking made me a little parched. And I go to open up my drink here and it's spewed. Now my pants are soaked and my chair is wet and it got on the floor and it got on the table, but no books got even a drop on them, thankfully. But now my leg is all cold and sticky and my pants are all wet. Ugh. Okay. I didn't even get a drink of my drink yet. Okay, continuing on. The next book is The Personal Assistant by Kimberly Bell. And this says, when Alex first began posting unscripted family moments and motivational messages online, she had no intention of becoming an influencer. Overnight, it seemed she'd amassed a huge following, and her hobby became a full-time job, one she couldn't manage without her sharp-as-a-tack personal assistant, AC. But all the goodwill of her followers turns toxic when one controversial post goes viral in the worst possible way. Alex reaches out to AC for damage control, but her assistant has gone silent. This young woman Alex trusted with all her secrets, who had access to her personal information and a front row seat to the pressure points in her marriage and family life, is now missing, and the police are looking to Alex and her husband for answers. As Alex digs into AC's identity and a woman is found murdered, she'll learn that the greatest threat isn't online, but in her own living room. Dun dun dun! Okay, next up is A Very Merry Bromance by Lisa K. Adams. This is the 5th book in the Bromance Book Club. Each book follows a different character and that's part of this book club. And they read different romance novels in order to help them with their relationship in one way or another. It's super cute and I absolutely love it. And that's really all I can tell you without spoiling, because I can't read you about this one. Okay, next up we have Of Shadow and Moonlight by Luna Laurier. This says, a woman fated to die young, a man cursed to live forever, and a darkness that threatens to destroy everything they love. Cassie was never able to experience the life that many take for granted, the freedom to dictate her own journey. No, her life had been spent sheltered, protected from an inevitable fate that would come for her regardless of what anyone could do. After her medical condition goes downhill, she is left with a few years of breath in her lungs and a choice. Die alone without ever experiencing what it truly means to feel alive and free, or to find that light, that missing puzzle piece, that feeling of not feeling so alone in her final days. When Damien appears in her life, her world turns upside down. When he shows her the hidden magic that lies in the shadows of her world and within herself, suddenly plunged into a hidden war that has raged for countless centuries between gods and monsters, Cassie begins to feel the weight of her secret, which she has kept hidden all her life. Cassie must embrace the tragic, dark history that runs through the blood in her veins, or risk her world falling into darkness. Very, very interesting. This feels like I think it might be a self-published book, but I don't know. I think it is self-published. But there are trigger warnings here, or content warnings, for... This contains scenes of alcohol, smoking, anxiety, assault, sexual assault, kidnapping, mention of depression and implied suicidal ideation, brief mention of self-harm, physical and emotional violence, profanity, PTSD, murder, sexually explicit scenes, terminal illness, mention of the death of a child, and torture. Please read with care. And then there's like suicide hotline information. And it says this book is not historical fantasy or alternate history, but draws inspiration from Greek mythology with deities reimagined in vastly different views. Okay. And there's also an official Spotify playlist. Okay, next is Twice in a Lifetime by Melissa Barron. And this says, the time traveler's wife meets Una out of order in this imaginative and moving debut novel of a love more powerful than time. Isla has fled the city for small town Missouri in the wake of a painful and exhausting year. With her chronic anxiety at fever pitch, the last thing she expects is to meet a genuine romantic prospect. And she doesn't. But she does get a text from a man who seems to think he's her husband. Obviously a wrong number, except when she points this out, the mystery texter sends back a picture of them on their wedding day. Isla cautiously starts up a texting relationship with her maybe hoax, maybe husband, Owen, who claims to be reaching out from a few years into the future. Owen knows Isla incredibly well and seems to love her exactly as she is, which she can hardly fathom. But he's also grieving because in the future he and Isla are no longer together. Owen is texting back through time to save her from a fate he is unwilling to share, and all she can do to prevent that fate is to learn to be happy now in the body she has, with the mind she has. The only trouble is the steps she takes in that direction might be steps away from a future with Owen. Melissa Barron's time-crossed romance features a quintessentially endearing and brave protagonist and an engrossing plot that will keep you turning pages until its breathtaking finish. Okay, next up is A History of Fear by Luc Dumas. And this says, an eerie literary suspense debut tracing the harrowing downfall of a tortured graduate student who's been nicknamed the Devil's Advocate for his sensational crime, murdering a classmate, then claiming the devil made him do it. Sorry for the chomping. Einstein is chewing on something directly under the table. The devil is in Scotland. Grayson, he's licking my toes. I took his toy away and he started licking on my toes. I'm sorry. The devil is in Scotland. Grayson Hale, the most infamous murderer in Scotland, is better known by a different name, the Devil's Advocate. The 25-year-old American grad student rose to instant notoriety when he confessed to the slaughter of his classmate Liam Stewart, claiming the devil made him do it. When Hale is found hanged in his prison cell, officers uncover a handwritten manuscript that promises to answer the question that's haunted the nation for years. Was Hale a lunatic, or had he been telling the truth all along? Unnervingly, Hale doesn't fit the bill of a killer. The first-person narrative that centers this novel reveals an acerbic young atheist, newly enrolled at the University of Edinburgh to carry on the legacy of his recently deceased father. In need of cash, he takes a job ghostwriting a mysterious book for a dark stranger, but has misgivings when the project begins to reawaken his Satanophobia, a rare condition that causes him to live in terror that the devil is after him. As he struggles to disentangle fact from fear, Grayson's world is turned upside down after events force him to confront his growing suspicion that he's working for the one he has feared all this time, and that the book is only the beginning of their partnership. A History of Fear is a propulsive foray into the darkness of the human psyche, marrying dread-inducing atmosphere and heart-palpitating storytelling. And this sounds amazing. Okay, Next up is A Dash of Salt and Pepper by Kosoko Jackson. And this says, sometimes two cooks in the kitchen are better than one in this swingy romantic comedy. Xavier Reynolds is doing less than stellar. He just got dumped and was passed over for a prestigious fellowship. To top it all off, he's back home in Harper's Cove, Maine, population 9,000. The last thing he wants to do is work as a prep chef in the kitchen of the hip new restaurant in town, The Wharf, especially since the hot single father chef who owns it can't delegate to save his life. Logan O'Hare doesn't understand Xavier or why every word out of his mouth is dipped in sarcasm. Unfortunately, he has no choice but to hire Xavier. He needs more help in the kitchen, and his tween daughter, Anne, can only mince so many onions. It might be a recipe for disaster, but Logan doesn't have many options besides Xavier. Stuck between a stove and a hot place, Logan and Xavier discover an unexpected connection. But when the heat between them threatens to top the Scoville scale, they'll have to decide if they can make the relationship work or if life has seasoned them too differently. Cute. Okay, next is One Last Secret by Adele Parks. This says, one last client. A week at a beautiful French chateau should be an easy final job for Dora. She's smart, stunning, and discreet. She only needs to convince the other guests that she's Daniel's girlfriend. One last chance. One final luxurious week and she can leave the dangerous, difficult escort world because Dora has fallen in love and is ready to embrace a better future. One last secret. But as the guests assemble, it becomes terrifyingly apparent that putting her past behind her is impossible, and one last secret could cost Dora everything, including her life. From the Sunday Times #1 bestseller, Adele Parks comes a blisteringly provocative novel about power, sex, money, and revenge. Okay, next up is Butts, a Backstory by Heather Rodke. Oh, I find this one just so entertaining. Oh, Einstein's here with a toy. He wants me to play with him, but I'm not going to play with him right now. No, he's going to shake the whole table. Okay, this says, whether we love them or hate them, think they're sexy or silly or strange, consider them too big, too small, or anywhere in between, humans have a complicated relationship with their butts. It is a body part unique to humans and crucial to our evolution and survival. And yet over time, it has come to represent so much more beyond its physiological function. A woman's butt in particular is forever being assessed, criticized, and objectified, the subject of crude remarks on the streets or in a schooled hallway, or of anxious self-examinations in a dressing room mirror. But how did a mass of muscle and fat become an aesthetic and cultural Rorschach test for our collective feelings about what is desirable, acceptable, and shameful, and why? In Butts, a Backstory, reporter, essayist, and Radiolab contributing editor Heather Rodke is determined to find out. On a quest to explore the anatomical, emotional, and cultural ways that the butt has been understood throughout more than 200 years of history, Rodke takes us from the performance halls of 19th century London and the aerobic studios of the 1980s to the music video set of Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back and the mountains of Arizona, where every year humans and horses race in a feat of gluteal endurance. Along the way, she meets evolutionary biologists who study how butts first developed in early hominids, fit models whose measurements have defined gene sizing for millions of women, and exercise gurus who create fads like buns of steel. She also examines the central importance of race in our understanding of women's butts through figures such as Sarah Bartman, once known as the Venus Hottentot, Josephine Baker, Jennifer Lopez, and other women of color whose butts have been idolized, envied, and despised. Part deep dive reportage, part personal journey, part cabinet of curiosities, Butts is an entertaining, illuminating, and thoughtful investigation of why certain silhouettes come in and out of fashion, and how larger ideas about race, control, liberation, and power affect our most private feelings about ourselves and others. And I think it sounds really interesting, and also just funny to to think about reading a book all about butts. Okay, only 2 more books remaining. And the next one is 1,000 Heartbeats by Kira Cass. This says, love has a sound. It sounds like 1,000 heartbeats happening at the same time. Princess Anika has lived a life of comfort, but no amount of luxuries can change the fact that her life isn't her own to control. Soon she will be forced by her father into a loveless marriage with a duke called Nicholas for political gain. Meanwhile, miles away, small comforts are few and far between for Lennox, living with his banished clan, the Daranians. Lennox has devoted his whole life to helping his people try to take back the throne from Princess Anika's father. But then Anika and Lennox's worlds collide, and when love against all odds finds them both, they are bound by its call. They can't possibly be together, but the irresistible thrum of 1,000 heartbeats won't let them be apart. Okay, last and certainly not least, I have Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the second book in the Adrian Isolde series. Adrian X Isolde series. The first book is King of Battle and Blood, and I've pulled it up on Goodreads here so I can tell you about that one. Their union is his revenge. Isolde de Lara considers her wedding day her death day. To end a years-long war, she is to marry Vampire King Adrian Alexander Veseliev and kill him. But her assassination attempt is thwarted, and Adrian threatens that if Isolde tries to kill him again, he will raise her as the undead. Faced with the possibility of becoming the thing she hates most, Isolde seeks other ways to defy him and survive the brutal vampire court. Except it isn't the court she fears most, it's Adrian. Despite their undeniable chemistry, she wonders why the king, fierce, savage, merciless, chooses her as a consort. The answer will shatter her world. I think it sounds so good. Okay, so those are all 24 books that I accumulated this month. Have you guys read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!